Hello, all. Good morning. Welcome to the session on Certified Ethical Hacking version 11 Fundamentals. It's a live webinar, and I'll be your instructor for the next few hours. It's me, Bhaskar Manovaran. I hold 12 years of experience into IT. I started my career as an hardware engineer, followed by desktop support, system administration, service delivery consultant, and so on. And I'm currently serving as a technical training manager in a private firm. I have trained at least 9,000 professionals globally on virtualization and cloud technologies. I deliver programs mostly on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, cloud security, cyber security, VMware, IoT, VM backup and replication. And I hold few of the certifications on the technologies which I delivered. And I'm a former employee of VMware. All right. So before we jump into the actual agenda, I would like all of you to introduce yourself with your current organization and your expectation from this webinar. Yeah, you can unmute and you can introduce yourself. And if there is any background noises, you guys can skip to introduce, because I want the session to be captured without any background noises. So yeah, if there is anyone in a closed room, you can get started with your introduction.
Hi, all of you. Good morning.
Good
Yeah, my
morning.
name is Prasad. Yeah, currently I'm working as a cybersecurity analyst. So
Hmm.
I am working in Global Foundries Private Limited, US-based
Hmm.
company. So
Hmm.
we are handling both AWS security as well as cybersecurity. So we have currently I am working as an incident response team.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Incident. Okay.
yeah, it's in
Okay.
IR team. I do
Okay.
have around 4 years experience as a SOC as well as in IR.
Okay. So you'll have intrusion detections. As soon there is a detection, your team will get a PDL and email, correct?
Correct, correct. Actually, we do have vendor SOC as well. So
Mm-hmm.
SOC vendor they have escalated the incident which are like 2.2 and also major impact things.
All right. Thanks, Prasad. Thanks for joining us today. Let's move on. Yeah. Next participant.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Myself, Sangeet Mohanty from Bhubaneswar, Odisha.
Yes, Sangeet.
I'm working as a service desk engineer in Cloudtel Private Limited.
Mm-hmm.
And from this webinar, my expectations are as I always wanted to learn ethical hacking. So that is why I just joined this call for getting information that how we can start from scratch to the expertise.
Yeah. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you.
Definitely, yes. This session will seed you to proceed your aspiration towards ethical hacking. Moving on, I'll keep last participant to introduce, since there are some background noises here and there, since we all work from home. So I request the last participants to introduce, and you can set your expectation now. Go ahead. We are listening. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Dharmesh.
Yes, Dharmesh.
Yeah. Uh, Yesterday I got a call regarding this ethical hacking.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know regarding the safety and the security on the network basis.
Okay. Definitely, yes. That's what I'm going to start in the very first of the session, where we would be discussing about the physical security, and then we are
Yeah.
jumping into a network-based securities and so on. So we'll discuss about this, sir. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. I request all of you to keep yourself on mute. Yes, this session is planned to have a wide knowledge and understanding about the importance of security, what you mean by and cyber security, and how physical devices interact with each other, and how an attacker can enable a loophole, or how we can enable a threat to an organization. We're going to see all of them in a detail, and additionally, we're going to see certified ethical hacking version 11 from EC Council. So what this course is all about, and how much it costs, what is the exam duration, and so on. So we'll see all these things, and to be more specific, we're gonna follow this order over here. Course outline. We're gonna get start with introduction to ethical hacking. Then we'll be looking into footprinting and reconnaissance. Then scanning networks, enumeration, vulnerability analysis, and finally we're gonna hack a machine. Today we are going to physically see how you can hack a Windows 10 machine from a Linux machine. We use a machine called Kali Linux for defensive and offensive. So we would be using that machine to hack a Windows machine. All right. Being said that, let's get started. The course objective. All participants would understand the different type of certification which is trending in the market. The first question which anyone would mind on asking on any technology is there any certification tag to it? And if yes, am I eligible for the certification? What is the certification cost? And how famous the certification is? Will that certification yield me any job as such in the market? So we get all these questions. So definitely yes, we're gonna start with certification vendors. We're gonna see who is the market leader and what's percentage of certification occupied in the market, and then we're gonna compare within multiple certification vendors, and then we'll move on to understand CHV11 and its components like as per the agenda. One moment, somebody is in the bridge, so I have to let them in. I think is disconnecting very frequently. Raghav, I could see that you are very frequently disconnecting from this bridge. So kindly switch to a stable connection so that you don't see disconnections more often. Thanks for your understanding. All right. I request all of you to have a look into this certification vendor map, and the most prestigious certification you see in the market. You see this here, the yellow category here, that is occupies 44.8%. CISSP, Certified Information Security Professional, Information System Security Professional. Okay, so he's the one who's responsible for the entire organization's security, and this involves a physical security. This is mostly on physical security. This is the one which came into the market first, and next level is we call it as CCSP. You see here, cloud security, certified cloud security professional. And let's see the second highest one. You see this pink color, that is 9.5%, certified information security manager, CISM. So this is for management people, and we have one more certification called certified information security auditor, CISA, CISA. So there is one more certification, and the next one is blue, that is CompTIA Security Plus. Sorry, the next one is orange here. Can you see H all of you? Certified ethical hacker. This is the one. So this has got 7.6% of global share, and CompTIA, the fourth one, 7.1%, the blue one. So there are other certification which of course making a buzz in the market, but we'll take the top 4 or 5 for your consideration. CASSP, what you see, this is mostly an theoretical based certification where you don't see much of practical questions, and it's a multiple choice question that you have to answer. And the cost of the CASSP training itself is comes around 90,000 rupees, and certification above 50,000 rupees. So on the whole, you have to keep 1.5 lakh rupees for the CASSP certification. Okay. And anything you see ISC square certification, have a look into this. ISC square is an organization. So these certifications are expensive. They're leading in the market, as again they are expensive in the market as well. So I would like to bring this portal to you. So this is the one, and here you can see all the certifications. Most popular certification is CASSP. I would like to I would request all of you to spend 2 minutes on this portal. Please open that portal and walk through the certification options. Yeah, and the second highest certification you see in the market is called Certified Information Security Manager. This is from CISM. Have a look into this. So this is from ISACA. So this is from a different vendor altogether. and you can see 46,000 certification, 46,000 individuals who are already certified on this. So where this certification will discuss about management, incident management, and risk management. So let me share this. I want you to spend a minute. And this certification will cost around $600 CISM. And the next one is certified ethical hacking, that is from EC Council. And EC Council is one of the oldest certification provider in the market who provide certification and training on these programs. You can see here cyber security awareness, application security, penetration testing, computer forensics, ethical hacking, network security, encryption, incident handling, and so on. Certified ethical hacking training cost is 15,015, and certification cost is around $150. Yeah, certified ethical hacking, unlike other two programs like CISSP and CASM, that were mostly on the theory, a lot of procedures, compliances, ISO standards, and so on. So we'll discuss about compliances and certifications, global certification in terms of the standardization like ISO, HIPAA, FedRAMP, and so on. Whereas CH, certified ethical hacking, it is the program itself designed like 70% of practicals and 30% of theory, which means you will get most of the time the hands-on. So you'll see each tool and you will understand how a source and a target would communicate with each other, which port it uses, which application service it uses, what are the intrusion detection systems you have to tackle such kind of a threats, log analysis, and so on. So you'll see more detailed stuff with practical lab where we, you mean the lab setup includes multiple machines, like you'll also have an Android operating system installed. As part of the program you'll see hacking an Android application and hacking a Linux machine, hacking a Windows machine. So all in one. So ethical hacking will have a defensive for any interfaces or operating system you use more frequently. Being said that, let's move on to CompTIA Security Plus. Yeah, CompTIA is, it's again, it's one of the oldest certification provider, and I know at least CompTIA is in the industry since 2006. So they are in the industry at least 15 plus years by now. And one of the most famous CompTIA programs are A plus and N plus, hardware and networking. And they have improvised those certifications to match up the security. So they have advanced program or exam code SY0501, SY0601. CompTIA Security Plus is also um, one of the industry requested certification. The certification cost is around 350 US dollars. All right. Yeah. Anybody, any question on understanding the certification across 4 different vendors? So we discussed about the first certification, CISSP, the most industry looking certification. And then we discussed about CASM, CH, and CompTIA. So the easier one among all 4, if you ask me, and more effective one is CH, Certified Ethical Hacking. That's why we preferred this session to start with CH fundamentals. All right. Is there any question, anybody? If yes, you can shoot it up. You can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat so that I'll just look and answer to it. Okay. Looks you don't have a question, and I'm proceeding now. Yes. What's new in Certified Ethical Hacking version 11? So if you ask me, CH had different versions over the years. So around 20 years, Certified Ethical Hacking is into the market, and these certifications are evolved over the years. And what's new? So if you are preferred to choose EC Council certification, in that, I mean, if you ask me, CHV11 is introduced close to 4 months back. It's very new certification in the market, and this incorporates a new Linux called Parrot Linux. So we ethical hackers, earlier we used to use only Kali Linux. Kali Linux is an Linux based operating system where it is used for detecting threats creating exploits, extracting reports. It's like one operating system with 600 plus applications on it, so that you can use this Linux, Kali Linux operating system either to protect or attack a machine, end user machine. Right. So now they have introduced something called Parrot Security Linux. Yeah. So you would have heard about many Linux operating system in the operating system in the market, and the most famous one, it's getting its fame is now, it's called Parrot Linux. Parrot Linux is again like a Kali Linux operating system with some advanced features and support. Have a look into this. Parrot is the worldwide community for developers and security specialists that work together to build a shared framework of tools to make their job easier. So it would look like this. It is free. Anyone can download and install. Even I do have a Parrot Linux environment and my setup here on my data center. And it is very secured, lightweight, portable, and universal. Parrot Linux uses a source code of Debian in the backend, so it makes this operating system is very light. Right. And this can be, as I mentioned, you can download for free. So there are many versions here: Home Edition, Security Edition, IoT, and Cloud Appliance version. Right. So let me share this link. So whatever the link I share on the chat, I request all of you to make a note in a notepad so that when you revive, and you could able to easily navigate to those links. And additionally, I have created a OneDrive space for you, so that post session I would be providing an access to that link so that you can download the PPT and important links there. System requirement for Parrot Linux: you can install in 1 GB of RAM, 64-bit processor, 30 GB of hard disk. And you also have a documentation section here, and there is an installation section you can see here. So there is a step-by-step procedure that you can follow and install it. All right. Remapped to NIST NICE framework. So in US, we have something called NIST. This is a framework which is set by the global organization for all your any kind of technology you introduce. Let's take cloud, right? For cloud, they will design a framework. This is how it should operate, and this is how end users can connect. This is how you can you should set up your firewall. So NIST nothing but National Institute of Standards and Technology. Okay, and they usually set up a framework, global framework. And there's the one who sets up for cyber security framework as well. So let's quickly look into a minute here so that you'll understand whether the technology which you're learning, that is ethical hacking, whether that is covered under the framework which is set to by a global framework that is set to follow a global standard or not. So let me bring this to you. I told you, right? So they'll set up a framework for you. So here you see they follow a golden rule. It's again a standard. Again, I'll share this link to you all so that you can kindly open this URL for a minute. So if you look into this, they have given a framework for improving your existing infrastructure under cybersecurity. You can see this risk management. So the golden rule here is identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Right, let me share this as well. The course which you're gonna learn, yeah, is this specific course CHV 11 is othering. Othering means compliance with the new standards set to by NIST and NICE framework. NICE means National Initiative for Cyber Security Education. So, all standards are followed. Yeah. Moving on, the third option, third improvisation on the new certification, that is CHV 11, is enhanced cloud security, IoT, and OT modules. So, what is this cloud security? Cloud, as you all know, it's in the market, are making a buzz over 10 years, and in its peak now, since we are all using work from home options or online trainings. So now the use of cloud is, it's folded in multiples at least 20 times than the regular one. So here we use different vendors like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud to host our virtual machines, to install applications. One simple example is Swiggy. Swiggy is an example for a SaaS, software as a service, where a Swiggy organization would have enabled an access to you with the help of a map, where you just create an account and you get access to their platforms. And whenever you would like to order a food which is available with discounts and offers, and you can choose and get it order, right? So no one, there was a time like we used to stand in a queue and then get a token or pay a bill and then get collected with the food, and now you just very next to you, like you use every day, like a phone, just click on the app, select the nearest stores, and select which food you need and which discount coupon code you need to use and get it ordered, right? So if you see the communication between the user, that is a end user, let's take Bhaskar is an end user and Swiggy is a service provider, and then in between there is a hotelier. So there are three different people who exchange informations, right? So information is very critical for any business, and your identity should not be left access easily, or you should not allowed to have an identity theft, right? So here it comes of security, like how we can secure it. So in this CHV 11 they have introduced something on containerization. We have something called Docker and Kubernetes. So threat is multi-folded now, and every day you see a new threat is coming up in the market. A loophole maybe in an existing system, or there are a lot of tools which is available in the market which will try to penetrate into any system. So CHV11 provides security for cloud security, and additionally, one more technology which is trending in the market is called IoT, Internet of Things. Like you use Alexa, Google Home, or Google Mini, right? Or you use iPhone Siri. So these are all like Internet of Devices, Internet of Things. So where you provide a voice control, and then it'll listen to your voice message, and then it'll convert that as an executable format. Okay, example, you would like to go for a search option, and you like to set an alarm, you like to set an event, you like to turn on a device. If you like to turn on a fridge, AC, anything which is connected to your home network, you can turn it on. In fact, at my home I have set up few devices which is connected to my voice controls. I use an IoT as well at my home. So you need a security, because there may be an intruder who's very next to your building, and he may hack your resources. And CHV11 have introduced protection for your Internet of Things as well. And the next one is hardware security or operational technology. We call it as OT. So any hardware which is connected to your network will come under operational technology. And I would like to show you this. You can see here Shikra, Bus Pirate, Face Dancer, and more. So they have introduced these tools as part of this program, so that you will aware of the modern threats on IoT, and you better prefer to defend. So this again an extension to it. Modern malware analysis. See, modern days, if you see in the market, we heard ransomware attack. This is the most um, infected attack, which is still many organizations are yet to recover, and we see these attacks are growing day by day. Okay, and CHV11 have introduced a collection of modern malwares, how to enable protection to those, and how to protect against those threats, and what kind of services are available, what are the tools are available in the market. And with the help of analysis, we could able to figure out like what kind of attack, whether it is an attack at stage 1, at stage 2, or stage 3. So you should be in a position to analyze, and if it is at stage 1, you can easily decrypt and come out. And if it is on stage 3, there is no other option other than going bare metal restores. So all those stuff should be discussed in CHV11. All right, so being said that, let's get started with information security. See, anything you do, right? Bhaskar is a user, he works for an organization. So an organization should track his movement. Like example, so if he is working, number one, his movement in terms of attendance. Whenever he access to an organization, there will be an access card. His attendance is tracked. Number two, he logs into his machine. with the help of a domain login. Example, if he works for an organization called vmware.com/Bhaskar, so there will be an Active Directory login. The login is created. Number 3, whenever he access the internal portal, intranet, employee services, and finally client. So whatever the client he is assigned, let's take Bhaskar is assigned with the client called Siemens. So anything you do on your customer environment, again that is being tracked. So how you verify that yes, this employee is working for an organization? There will be an employee profile and all this individual logins. This will make sure that you are working for an organization or you are there in an organization. So if you look at this, all these are all data or information. Do you all agree? All of you? Anyone can unmute. Guys, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I got an answer. Thank you. So if you see anything you do in an organization, it's considered to be an information, right? And have a look into this. So information security, we need to secure your information so that your identity is not revealed or our identity is not theft or it is misused. So practice of preventing unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, inspection, recording or destruction of information. Okay, so anything you see here, everything should be protected, whether it is a physical one or an electronic one. Yeah, data at a glance. So how data is generated? So this is as per 2019 report. You see in a single minute how data is generated. Example, in Google, there are 3.8 million requests are placed for a minute. 3.8 is like 40 lakh requests. 1 million is equal to 10 lakh. So 40 lakh requests being put to Google in a minute. And Google would in a position to answer to all those requests. And you see Instagram and you see Twitter tweets. So every minute you are generating data. Day by day, the data is adding up, and there is no way that you can reduce the data generations, because this is your work. When you say that every day you're working, which means your data is generated and you cannot go back. So at any cost, till we have information technology will have a huge data, till we have huge data, and there will be an threat, there will be an attack, there will be a hackers. All right, so anybody, any question on data or information security? Anybody? All right. Fine. Moving on. Top information security attack vectors. So if someone is hacking or there is an issue on an organization, that happens only through this attack vectors or attack paths. The most trending in the market is called cloud computing threats. We discussed some time back for an Swiggy example. like how three different people would interact with each other, and the possibility of attack over cloud computing would be high. Okay, number one, an attacker can target directly on cloud computing so that he can take control of an entire organization. One. Next one is called advanced persistent threat attacks. So this is more like taking a control of a machine without the user's knowledge. So we're gonna see APT example is again we used to call bot attack. So where you can use a user machine as an attack vector. It's like this. So this is Bhaskar. If you would like to threat US President, US President Biden. If I would like to threat US President is here. I cannot go and threat him in person. Okay, but I can thread over online. Okay, now if I directly thread him like, hey, if you put tax on us and you will be answerable, or if I threat him directly, then there will be an issue to me. Correct? Do you all agree? Through IT Act, they may put some case on me, or anything which I threat somebody, there will be hundreds of cases, and especially US president means they'll come up with hundreds of answers. Right now, what I'll do, I'll take a shield, or I'll protect myself, so that I'll draw a wall. So what I'll do, I'll use a attacker machine. I'll use a it's not an attacker machine. I'll use a general public machine. Let's take, I know a person in Singapore. Let's call it his name is Roy. I know him because I have hacked this machine. So what I'll do, I'll hack this machine, and Roy doesn't know what is happening in his machine. You will have absolutely no clue what is happening in the back end. And through Roy machine, I'll thread, hey Biden, don't impose any tax on us, or allow us to perform a nuclear reactors at our place. So I'll threat him. So what I'm doing, I'm just taking a shield. I'm protecting myself, and then allowing some other person to threat. Same thing here. If I want to attack uh, an organization, I cannot directly go and attack from my local machine, because my machine would have tagged with the public IP address, public IP, and anyone can easily find out from where I'm initiating this attack. Okay, so I'll not take that risk. So that's why you'll use a victim machine. Yeah, the technical word is victim. We'll use intermediate machine to attack it. Next one is viruses and worms. So you can create a virus in the market, and then I'll put it into a folder, or I'll keep it into a pen drive, or I'll put it on a file. And today we're gonna see how you gonna enable and metasploit, or how you gonna create a payload so that you can attack a machine. So to understand virus and worms, so you would have heard about Trojan virus. Trojan is the oldest virus, and where it used to spread. Trojan horse, you would have heard about it, right? So these are all like viruses which will kill your system file, so that your operating system will become slow. And especially would have seen on Windows XP, this viruses is to attack Windows XP, and you cannot do anything. At one stage, you cannot install application, significant performance impact, and it will consume more CPU. and your antivirus won't be in a position to completely remove those viruses. So the virus are worm attacks, and this can affect at multiple levels. Let's take, when you say a virus means what? It's a software program. You can write in any code. A virus, nothing but it has to see what everyone is thinking. Virus means it will go and attack entire machine. No, answer is it will not attack every services in a machine. It is targeted to a specific service. See, this is our laptop. Okay, in our laptop, whenever we play a game, what happens here? Two resources will go high. Two of the resource like CPU and RAM. And you see the laptop is getting heated. So what you are doing? So with the help of software, you are increasing the utilization of a hardware. Correct? Same thing here. Through a virus, the virus is a software program, you are going to increase the utilization of CPU and RAM. And in some cases, with the help of this program, you can delete a file, delete system32 file. That's all. So what virus will do? Virus will do two things. One is either it will try to maximize the usage of a specific hardware, or it will remove the most important file in your organization. This is what it will do. Okay, so once this is impacted, your operating system is impacted, and this attack can be at a different level. Number one, it can be at a network level. Number two, it will be at the operating system level, OS level. Okay. Number three, it is at the app level, application level. So this virus or worms, what you see, it's a software program, can impact at three different levels. You see here. Hope you are understanding, all of you. Anybody, any question? Okay. Run DLL is a system file or system services within system32. Usually you see in Windows operating systems. It's a system32 file, or it's a system file which runs within your operating system. So DLL means dynamic link library, and this is mostly available in Windows machines. Welcome back from break. Before break, we kick started with top information security attack vectors, where we kick started with cloud computing threats, followed by APT, virus, and worms. And then now the fourth one, the ransomware. This is more like a ransom extraction from the end users by hacking their systems. So ransomware, it's again kind of a malware. With this, they'll decrypt your data. It is more like this. You have a folder and you kept all your important files inside that folder. And if you would like to access a file within that folder, you have to open that folder first. This ransomware will encrypt that folder itself. It will navigate it will select that folder, and it will change the folder in the form like in zip or a tar. So as you know, if you like to open or extract any zip or a tar file, you need to have zip extractors, or you need softwares like WinZip or WinRAR. So here in ransomware, they'll use an encryption code so that it will get zipped and it won't unzip or won't decrypt unless and until you provide a valid password or a credential. So this hackers uses this method so that an end user would not be allowed to get inside the OS itself. Okay, there are the different levels of attacks again on ransomware. And if you look into the historically, so earlier they used to search each and every folder. They used to take sensitive information. Let's take, there is a contractual winning of a specific client or a agreement between a client. So those information used to be hacked or targeted. But now hacker don't have a time. So what he will do, he will hack the entire machine or a folder so that the end user at any cost has to provide the requested ransom to get access back to the machines. Mobile threats, as long as we use application app, will definitely are vulnerable to attacks. And recently, you would have seen the Indian government have banned a few Chinese applications, and these applications have an an live tracker, example a location tracker, and it will monitor your other applications or it will tab your phone calls, right, that you are not aware of. And this data is being sent to a server which is kept it in China, so that used to sync between your machine, sorry, your phone to that Chinese service, so that they can make use of your data whenever they need. And there will be a cyber team would be looking very keenly on these tabbings or recordings to take advantages of the end user. And this was happened to most, I mean, if see one of the scenario where um, Indian journalists were targeted, because journalists will share a lot of sensitive information. So the application which is installed on journalist phone, example WhatsApp, that is being used as a monitoring application so that it can track all the calls, contact information, photos, messages, emails, and so on. All right. So this is being one of the most vulnerable thread you see in the market, because one one in four people around you, one in four is definitely keeping an smartphone, right? So smartphone is affordable now and the data plans are easy to adopt, and especially with the Geo you see a lot of options there. So now a phone with a smartphone with a plan is available for a lower cost. So there are many options are available. They use Wi-Fi and many things, but definitely anything you use on a smartphone, you are vulnerable to attacks. All right. So botnet. So sometime back we discussed about victim machine, right? And I brought up this name called botnet. Botnet is like that. It will make a group of machines to attack somebody at a time. So it is like this. So Bhaskar is a hacker. Okay. And what he will do, he will attack many victims. So victim number one, victim number two, victim number three, victim number four. So through bounty, somebody is giving him $1 million. Hey, what you have to do, Bhaskar? You have to go and attack Amazon.in. So Amazon.in is an e-commerce portal or a website. So somebody has paid me a hefty amount. So what I'll do, I will turn my hacked machines into a group of attackers. So this is called botnet. So all these machines will go and request Amazon.in at a time. So how they will request or how they will attack, it will go and search Amazon.in at the same time per single minute 1 lakh request. Sorry, single second 1 lakh requests per second. So what is this 1 lakh requests per second? See, as a normal person, if someone asks you a question, so you will answer to that question. So one question you can answer. So one moment. Somebody is joining in. You see, if you are a single person and you would like to answer to a single question, you can answer. Let's take hundreds of your users are asking 100 questions at the same time. So to whom you will answer? Cannot answer to anyone. Or you can answer to a single question. That's all remaining 99 people would be waiting for your answers. Same thing here. Amazon.in is an e-commerce portal where multiple users are across the globe will try to access this page. Okay, and their requests are not like 1 lakh requests. It is like one request per second, all individual normal user. Whereas this attacker uses 1 lakh requests per second to this machine. So what happens? Amazon website will not respond at one stage. This website will go down. Okay, we also call this attack is called DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack. So there are many technical names, but origin is like this. Insider attack, and this is very much, this is more like a person within an organization who try to hack his own organization. Let's take, there is a user called Ravi, and he works for this organization more than 10 years, but in the same role he don't have any position up in the level, or there is no promotion for him. That frustrated him, and what he will do, he will backfire his organization. So he will go ahead and remove some of the important files which is saved for the clients or end users, so that it will make damage to an organization or threat to an organization. So you see here, it is an attack performed on a corporate network on a single computer by entrusted person, insider. You see here, trusted person is employee within an organization. Who has authorized to access the network? Yes. One moment, somebody else again joining in. And the next one is phishing. Phishing, it is most commonly used in any organization. You would have received a lot of phishing emails, spam emails. See, one example is lottery winning example. You have won a lottery of $1,000, and please provide your account details so that we will send that money to your account. And for courier charges, you need to pay just 10% of the total charge. That is $100 you have to deposit into this account, so that we will courier you your winning lottery or your money. So you would have seen such emails. Hackers will, money extractors. So they will use many techniques, and mostly this messages used to come from, earlier it used to come from Africa. Okay, yeah. So here, phishing is a practice of sending an illegitimate means non-trustworthy emails, falsely claiming to be form of legitimate site. They'll portray like a trustable site, okay, in attempts to acquire a user's personal or account information. This everyone would have come across. And the next one is web application and threats. One example for web application threat is Amazon.in attack. See, the attack has got different names, but the place where you initiate and the place where it will target, the naming convention changes. See, earlier I called the attack initiators like a victim machine. Then the name got changed to a botnet, a group of machines, right? And then I gave a name called DDoS. And now you see web application thread, which means the destination to whom you target. Amazon.in is a web application. It's a web server or a website, right? So when you attack, it will become a web application threat. And you see here, attacker targets web application to steal credentials, set up phishing site, acquire private information to threaten performance of the website and hamper its security. For a website, we have many type of attacks. One of the most common attack, we call it as cross-site scripting, XSS attack. Okay, so for this, let me bring up one example. This can be done by anyone. Anyone can scan their websites against vulnerability. See what I'll do. I'll choose my website. Here I'm going to search for a website called cloudforgreen.com. So here you can see this specific portal is collecting all the information on my website, and it will give a clue whether my website is vulnerable for any kind of an attack. So if you see XSS, can you see this cross-site scripting, all of you? Let it load. Actually, still it is in the. Oh yeah, it's done the reporting. So my risk on my website is not critical. I mean, it's a medium risk. There are few dependencies which I have to work on. You see here, a risk description. An attacker can see the entire structure of file subdirectories from the affected URL. It is often the cause the sensitive files are hidden among public files in the location attackers can be vulnerable to access them. So here you see I have given an open name called assets images image like this. So it's asking me to, hey, you have to protect this against the attack. So what you have to do, we recommend reconfiguring the web servers in order to deny directory listing. So if anyone try to list the directory, what is directory? Directory means it's a path. Example, C drive. Within C drive, I have a folder called users. Within a user, I have Bhaskar. Within Bhaskar, I have desktop, documents, pictures, videos, and so on. This is a directory. So at the web server level, I have to restrict that you should not allow to list those directory. Okay, that's a suggestion here. Yeah, see here. The HTTP reader instructs that the browser to stop loading web pages when they detect reflected cross-site scripting attacks. So they're asking us to use some header so that the end user would not be allowed to, I mean the attacker would not allowed to see the header files within my web page. And I can download this report as well. I think they may charge. Okay, they didn't charge. Pages download. So is here the report So they're given a complete report on my website. All right. So this whatever I have run a report, right? So that will help me to understand whether my website is vulnerable for any kind of an easy attack. So it shows that risk level is medium. So what I have to do, I have to work hard so that the risk level can be brought to low. See, all the websites in the world will have at least one risk for sure. The percentage of risk matters. Mine is medium. Someone may have a low risk. Okay. If you look into this, I'll run one more search. So let's run www.google. Or I'll type amazon.in. Very rarely you see a website with no risk at all, because every software it uses for analyzing these risks would depend. See, this website pentest-tools.com may use 10 tools to find out vulnerabilities. Some websites they may use 100 tools to find vulnerabilities. It depends on which portal, what kind of test it uses to find on a specific web page. Let's see, you will have a clue. Let this complete. And you see, it gave me a report. See, overall risk level is medium. Amazon.in, the most trusted online website, but still the risk level is medium. Can you see this, all of you? Which means what? Yeah, there may be suggestions here and there. And see, again, they're asking to put on um, cross-site scripting protections. So this is common recommendation. All right. IoT threats, we discussed this already. Internet of Things, the rise in voice search devices like Siri, Google Mini, and Alexa, all those can be vulnerable in future. So we should be very sure, or we should protect these devices against attacks or the possibility of attack. And IoT is easy to crack. Internet of Things resources are rare, right? So they are not that very strong like our servers, very strong like our laptops. They have an easy targets for any attacker. Okay, the protection is there, and it's again like what kind of protection you enable as soon the devices come online, because by default every IoT device will have a default username and password. If you reset the IoT device, automatically it switch back to a default username and password, so that an attacker can easily make use of the default username and password. All right, now let's look into hacking. What do you mean by a hacking? Hacking is nothing but exploiting system vulnerabilities and compromising security controls to gain unauthorized or inappropriate access to the system resources. Exploiting system vulnerabilities. What does that mean? So this is a system here, and this system has got a username like admin and a password as admin. A user kept like this. Exploiting system vulnerabilities. Yeah, what is that exploiting? Making use of system vulnerability. Here the vulnerability is easily guessable password. So the attacker will easily guess this password and he can log in. So this is called exploitable. So exploiting system vulnerabilities and compromising security controls to gain unauthorized and inappropriate access to the system resources. Yeah. So what he did, unauthorized, now he got a password. So next time is unauthorized access. Why you are calling it as unauthorized? Because the user of the specific machine, let's take Raju, he is not around or is available, but still he used his resources remotely over network. He accessed with this credential and he copied all the data. Okay, it's not necessary that an hacker should be available very next to the machine. A hacker can be anywhere in the world. As long as you could able to take control of your machine, you can do whatever you want. You can use a public network, that is through internet public IP. You'll use a public IP to initiate an attack on your machine. All right. So here you see exploiting system vulnerabilities and compromising security controls. So it involves modifying system or application features to achieve a goal outside its creator's original purpose. So it involves modifying the system or application features. Yeah. So what an hacker will do, he attacked this machine with the default credentials. Now you will list out what and all is there in this machine. Hey, I can see a folder called company contracts. So he looked into this folder and he found a list of all contracts with the clients. So what he will do, in the one of the contract with the Siemens, there was a motherboard supply to Siemens, and this is around 1 million USD. So you got to know that, hey, looks like he quoted for 1 lakh, or 1 million US dollars. Now next year I'll approach Siemens to win a contract, and this time I'll cost them only 0.9 million. So when you understand the differences on a current contract, and when you bid for a lower contract cost, definitely the client will choose a lower contract costing. Okay, so this is what happened. A hacker, which is funded by a third party organization to hack a specific CEO or an CFO machine, so that the attacker attacked that machine and he navigated to that folder and he accessed all the contractual winnings or existing contract filings, and he got collected a piece of information. Okay, this is called an attack. So this is a normal file when we is accessing a file, but there are hundreds of attacks where it can allow to crash this machine, or you can use this machine as an botnet, right? Or you can use this machine as an exploit center where we can create a virus and then push it to end users. So an attacker can decide what this machine would be. See here, hacking can be done to steal, pilfer, and redistribute intellectual property, thus leading to a business loss. Hacking on computer network is generally done by means of scripts or other network programming. Network hacking techniques including creating virus, worms, performing denial of service. Yeah, we discussed about this. DDoS, distributed denial of service. Established unauthorized remote access connections to a device using Trojans. We discussed about Trojan virus. Creating botnets. We discussed about this. Discussed about phishing, password crack. Right. So this is what hacking. Hacking means taking someone's machine without his approval or authorization and steal all required information or crash that machine, either harm that machine, harm an organization, or making that machine to harm somebody. So it can be any form. All right. Hacker, a person who initiates hacking. Have a look into this. A hacker is a person who breaks into a system or a network without any authorization to destroy, steal sensitive data, and perform malicious attack. A person who operates a computer, we call it as a computer operator. A person who initiates an hacking, okay, is called as a hacker. A hacker can be a good hacker or it can be a bad hacker. So let's see what is the difference between good and bad in some time. Hacker is an intelligent individual with excellent computer skills. Yeah, hackers are not just a computer user. Hackers are individuals who possessed a knowledge on operating system, knowledge on networking, knowledge on application, knowledge on scripting. It's not a normal person. Hacker would have gained this knowledge over the years by trying multiple R&Ds, and finally you would have become a hacker. Okay, hacker is an intelligent individual with excellent computer skills along with the ability to create and explore into computers hardware and software. Yeah, so he is the one who can access hardware as well as software. Usually a hacker would be a skilled engineer or a programmer with enough knowledge to discover vulnerabilities in the system. So he or she is generally a subject expert, enjoys learning the details of various programming languages and computer systems. So hacker so prized so much here because he possesses many skills. Yeah, types of hackers. Black hat hacker. So yeah, so I told you right sometime back, good hacker and a bad hacker. So the good hacker here it called as white hat hackers, and the bad hacker is called black hat hacker. So have a look into this. Black hats are individuals who use their extraordinary computer skills for illegal and malicious purpose. So he's the perfect hacker. Okay, will steal the information or crash or make use of that machine to crash somebody. To white hat hacker. So usually organizations will hire white hat hackers so that they work on a defensive method. So one moment. So let's take a self-defense called karate. So karate is an what martial arts self-defense technique, right? So here, if you learn this, one is you can use it in two way. One is to attack somebody. Other one is to defend yourself. So once you gain this skill, karate skills, you can attack somebody. This is called a black hat, and defend somebody. So let's take a company who wants to take your karate skills so that they feel secured, like a bodyguard. You are a bodyguard to some celebrity. Okay, so in that case, you will become a white hat. Right, so here black hat is the one who attacks, white hat is the one who defends. So look into this. White hats are pen testers, are individuals who use their hacking skills for defensive purposes. So let's look into this. Here you would have seen a word called pen testers. So pen tester means penetration testing, means, so this is your closed network. This is your network. You see, this is your network. So what pen testers will do, so they would have enabled an vulnerability analysis. We call it as intrusion detection system, IDS. Short form, IDS. So this is more like a sensor. So let's call this is a building, okay? So let's call this is an house. So a house or a building. So this is more like a physical fencing, and you have set an alarm. So if anyone touches their boundary, right? So immediately it will give an alarm, right? Similarly, we have some at the network level, we have something called intrusion. Any attacker who tries to get inside to the network, it will provide an alarm. It will trigger an alarm. Okay, so pen testers are the one who's actively looking into these alarms, and also they will create their own, they themselves will act like an attacker. A pen testers, they themselves will try to access or try to attack their organization with multiple service points or an application points. They'll test it vigorously. Okay, yeah. So here an white hat hacker who's responsible for the entire organization's security, whereas a pen tester is specifically performs a task of whether an organization is vulnerable for attack or not. So pen testers won't play a global role, whereas an white hat hacker, right, or a ethical hacker, so he will play a global role. All right. Let's see if there is any question. Anybody, any question? Anybody, any question? All right. Gray hat hacker. So they are like both. They'll play two roles. One is the offensive as well as defensive. So which means what? For an organization, he will work as a white hat hacker. For his own interest, he can be a black hat hacker. So a hacker who plays a dual role, both good and bad, he is called as gray hat hacker. Suicide hacker. Suicide hacker is like suicide bombers, or it's more like, I mean, very simple example is suicide attackers. So what they will do, so they'll have uh, a bomb tied to their body, and then they'll trigger it, and then they'll attack a group of people, right? So same thing here. A suicide hacker is like this. So what they'll do, they'll reveal their identity and they'll go and attack an organization. So let's take, there is an hacker group, okay, Kerala hackers. So this group will go and attack a Pakistani website, and they will claim that, hey, we told you already that we would be coming behind you, and we have hacked your government organization website. Okay, so they'll be motivated with um, some kind of an, they can be motivated religiously, or they can be motivated financially. It can be any reasons. Okay, and they are not worried about jail terms. They are ready to face. They are called suicide hackers. Next one is script kiddies. Script kiddies are like anyone new to hacking technology or hacking world. Let's take, you are all called script kiddies. Whoever is attending this session, right? So if I provide a script and if I ask you to go ahead and then execute that script, we can call you as a script kiddie, where you will make use of the simple code to test how this works. You don't know like how the script works in the backend, but your intention is you want to attack or you want to see the end results. You usually focus on quantity, not on the quality. Okay. Cyber terrorists. Yeah, cyber terrorists are like a group who operates across the globe, a larger audiences. The differences between suicide hacker and a cyber terrorist is, suicide hacker may be a small organization, whereas a terrorist is a larger organization who again, as I told you some time back, who is motivated by religious or political or financial, it can be anything, and they'll target a group of websites, or they target an individual organization. State sponsored hackers. So this is a very high level hackers who works for a government organization. Example, NSA, okay, FBI, ISI. So you heard about all this, right? So these are the hackers who is highly skilled, and government will recruit them and they will initiate attack on enemy nations. Example, China will hire highly skilled hackers and they can initiate an attack on US portals or on US websites. Similarly, vice versa, America can hire and highly skilled people and then they can target on the enemy nation. Hacktivist. Activist is like a person who work for a cause. Let's take petrol price is high. Okay, now you see petrol price has cost more than 100 rupees, right? So there is an IT activities that you would like to put a message on the petroleum board. Okay, let's take he hacks Indian Petrol Corporation and he'll put a message that, hey, the price is too high and the impact on low and middle class people are very much high on this, and you should consider this as a warning so that you act swiftly so that the prices would come down, right? So you can put up a message like this, or you want to put a message, or he supports Black Lives Matter. So what you will do, he concerned about a society and you want to strongly share a message. So what he'll do, he'll attack such popular portals or in government websites and he'll post his message.